Just real quickly, under enrollment, we had 1,876 students enrolled in K through 12. 1,876 students enrolled K-12, 2,030 students with our pre-K. From last month, we are down 9 students. I did some checking on that to kind of see what happened. It looks like we had 2 families move out of the district. We had a couple students in placement, and it looks like maybe 1 pursuing GED. The good news is we have 60 more students, or about 60 more students than we had this time last year. So, so kind of moving forward with pretty good enrollment numbers this year.
Any questions for Brian on enrollment? Okay, moving to 4.2 finance update, Carla.
The mic to work. All right. Not too much to comment on this time around. Just to make note that our ESSER budget came through this last Friday. So I am able to start pulling down on those federal funds. So that'll increase our federal revenue that is lagging behind from last year quite drastically once we get those funds in this month here. The second point to note is our under purchase services were quite a bit higher than we were last year, and that's just basically due to timing of our PSCO payments. That went out, I believe, next month in last year's budget. So those are the 2 that I have on that page. Any questions on there?
Any questions for Carla?
Okay, moving on to the next page. I honestly didn't see too much to comment about this. We're kind of right in the trend where we were last year at this time. So I feel like we're doing okay there. Any questions on there? And then finally, the treasurer's report. Same thing, we're continuing on a daily basis to watch our accounts and our fund balances. Our interest is still up from the prior month, but has kind of leveled off this time around. That's about all I had.
Thank you, Carla. Any questions for Carla? Okay, thank you. 4.3 administration and department head reports. Superintendent.
Yes, thank you. Just real quickly on the legislature updates. I sent some of the changes that would have been given to me for the omnibus education bill. So take a look at that. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Also, I sent you the link for ASEC, and Tiffany Lippman was testifying down there at the House Chair Committee. And so that went really well. And so if you haven't checked that out, please do so. Looks like we have some traction moving forward with the level 4 setting that we've been trying to get here at East Grand and as part of ASEC for quite a while now. So that's good. And you may have noticed Governor Walz is not recommending any new funding at this point, although he is setting aside $50 million for VPK, which is good. So voluntary pre-kindergarten, and that would open up 5,200 additional slots for schools, which would be helpful for East Grand Forks. I'll continue to keep you updated on those legislative updates as they come in. And then under committees, we had a calendar meeting last Thursday. We went through and finalized the 2024-25 calendar. And so you'll be voting on that in a little bit. We also made a minor change to the 2023-24 school calendar. And that's just a real minor thing last day of school. And so we can talk about that when we get there. I know it's not a committee meeting, but I met with the American Indian Parent Advisory Committee to go over the AIE grant remaining budget for the year to make sure that those folks were on board with everything. We also started planning for the AI graduation and honor ceremony, which is going to be May 18th at 1 p.m. at Central Middle School. Negotiations update real quick. We have those scheduled with paras, food service, and our maintenance crews, and that'll start here in the next couple weeks. So we have them on the calendar. And then a real quick update on the principals. We've decided to temporarily postpone those negotiations until further notice.
Any questions for Brian? Okay. Moving into, thank you. Moving into 5.0 consent agenda. Need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll move.
Any second?
I'll second.
Any questions or discussion or anything pulled from the consent agenda? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, 6.0 is opportunity for citizens to speak on items not on the agenda. We did have one tonight. Kalisha Christensen, if you could come to the mic. I'm just gonna go over the guidelines real quick for the open forum. State your name, your address, and the organization that you represent, and limit your comments to 3 minutes. I'll just look at my clock and go from there. Personnel matters, and probably maybe a little personal matters should not be discussed because most of these issues are private under state law. Okay. Floor is yours.
I did.
Kalisha Christensen, 124 4th Street Northwest. I have a student at South Point. And I just heard about these discussions of all of these discontinuing of educational programs. And I feel like I'm really surprised that I'm the only person who's here to talk about this, like very, very shocked. I don't know if maybe is this the right time to be talking about this? I don't know. But it sounds like a lot of these changes are going to have a big effect next year. Could very drastically change the support and services that my children receive at the schools. And I feel like I feel like I don't have a good picture of what's going on, and I felt like I needed to come in and just say, hey, I need some clarity here on what some of these changes are, because it sounds like there's been some really sudden decisions made, and I just think that us parents could really use some more clarity and reasoning and information about these changes and how, it's going to affect our children next year, specifically next year, but going forward, because if there's these programs being discontinued, I feel like it's very hard to restart programs. I don't really know. I'm not that involved with the school systems. I'm just a parent, but when I have one of my children uses special education services, counseling, all of these things, and I've been very, very grateful for that, and we've really benefited and needed that. And it was already a slow process. It was already something that we had to really work for to make happen, and had to put a lot of pieces together to make it happen. And I'm concerned about these resources and support services being diminished, and what my children are going to be able to, how much harder it's going to be for my children going forward and for other families to receive these kind of services. And I'm obviously it's budgeting money issues, and I just, as a parent, I would like to know why these were chosen, or more clarity and more reasoning on this decision-making process. And also just to maybe understand why it feels so sudden, and I just don't know if there's been enough input from the community or time for the community to provide input, if that's a possibility. So I think that's that pretty much covers it for me.
It's usually not a bantering session, but we do appreciate your comments.
Mhm.
I think you'll learn a little bit more as to what the process was when we talk about them tonight.
Okay.
And if there's still
And-
questions after that, feel free to reach out to me.
Yep. And I just want to reiterate that I found out about this and everything last night at midnight, literally midnight. So I I definitely feel like a fish out of water right here, so sorry about that,
Oh,
but
no.
I just thought I'd show up and
We
participate.
appreciate you coming. Thank you. All right, that was the only one that I was given. Did you have any more?
Nope, nope.
Moving on to 7.0, we're going to approve the agenda. So moves to approve the agenda. Second,
Second.
okay. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. 8.0 district business. We'll move right into 8.1, which is adopting the resolution, reducing and discontinuing education programs and positions. I'll turn it over to Brian for just a few introductory comments into how this process worked. And then we'll talk about it some more.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, first of all, I just want to say meetings like tonight are never easy. Really doesn't matter if it's something new for a district or something that we've been doing for a number of years. It's always going to be hard. Personally, I have experienced budget reductions as a licensed staff, a principal, and a superintendent. And I know these are the most difficult and challenging times for a school district. Our district leaders, our staff, and our students and our families are all affected by this process. When schools face financial challenges, we are most likely forced to go without something that we had before. Please know that the last thing that a superintendent, a school board, or any other leader wants to do is take away something that we've given our students, our staff. Unfortunately, when it comes down to budget reductions, over 80% of our budget is reserved for our staff. And this is on an annual basis. I think I can speak for the board when I say that this is extremely difficult for everybody as we begin the process of balancing our budget at East Grand Forks Schools. I can tell you that we have spent the last 2 months, at least, closely analyzing our options for savings, and quite frankly, there is no good options. Because the district has been deficit spending, we are on the cusp of losing our federal COVID relief dollars. Many schools like East Grand Forks have some major financial challenges that need to be addressed right now and into the future. East Grand Forks will be losing right around $900,000 in total ESSER funding. That's September, which is about $500,000 was being used on additional support staff for the district. During COVID, schools received much needed help with student support and did many great things. East Grand Forks, in particular, invested heavily in programming and training to better serve and support our students, staff, and families. During this time, East Grand Forks has developed amazing support services. MTSS and SEL come to mind. I know we're working on restorative practices. We've just done a really great job with the infrastructure here. We are better equipped now than we were before then to better serve the needs of everybody at East Grand Forks, and safety remains our top priority. As difficult as it is to be part of these type of reductions at East Grand Forks, I have confidence that we will continue to be a great school. I know that because we have great staff here and students and families in our community. Change is always difficult, but it doesn't mean that we have to take a step back. We have an opportunity to take a step forward, and other people have an opportunity to do that. So that's a good thing for us. The last 2 or 3 months, we met as a finance committee. We went through many, many, many options. One of the things that I encouraged our finance team and our admin team to do was turn every stone over to make sure that we weren't missing anything. Is there something we haven't looked at? Is there something that will be better and won't impact our students and our families and our staff? Those are hard things to find because everything you look at impacts our students and staff and families. We met 3 times as a finance committee. We had very comprehensive conversations. We did a lot of legwork coming into those meetings. I want to thank my admin team for all the work they put in, trying to come up with something that looks like recommendations for our school board to make these very important decisions. The school board can decide to accept our recommendations as such, or you guys can have conversation and you can decide that you want to accept partial. You can move things around, you can ask questions. I invite you to have that discussion tonight. And really, this is what this is for tonight. As far as being transparent, no, we haven't went out and told everybody that we're gonna be doing this, but we certainly have talked about it at other forums. And in my newsletter that goes out, I've talked a little bit about some of these processes we're going through. And quite frankly, I don't know if there's a perfect way to do it, but it is not our intention not to be transparent. We just want to be thorough, and we want to make sure that we're doing things the right way. And so it's my hope tonight that we're ready to make those decisions and have conversation and do what's best for East Grand Forks today. And looking forward, and I know that there's a good chance that this won't be the only time that East Grand Forks is making difficult decisions. But again, I just want to thank everybody. I want to thank the board for all your support in this process. And like I said, I'm here to answer any questions that I can tonight to help with this decision, or these decisions.
Thank you. So I'm going to introduce the following resolution and then we'll move to a, motion in a second, and then we can have discussion. And we can move around what's on the resolution. We can adopt the resolution. We cannot adopt the resolution. We'll go from there. So whereas the School Board of Independent District Number 595 adopted a resolution on January 8th, 2024, directing the administration to make recommendations regarding the reduction and or discontinuance of programs and positions. And whereas said recommendations have been received and considered by the school board, be it resolved, the School Board Independent District 595 as follows: the following positions and programs or portions thereof be discontinued. 1 preschool teacher position. 3 preschool paraprofessional positions. 1.5 food service positions. 1 AIE and ANI coordinator position. 1 director of special education / principal. 1 assistant principal. 2 social worker positions. 1 school counselor position. 1 South Point art position. An all seasonal summer maintenance position. And 5% of the total athletics budget. So I will take a motion in a second and then we'll discuss.
You introduced it.
I'll introduce it. I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All right, questions and discussions on the following programs and positions that have been recommended by administration.
I'll start. Excuse me, sorry. I was more or less notified of 2 of these less than a week ago. Being on the finance committee, I thought I would have learned sooner, neither here nor there. I don't necessarily agree, especially with the assistant principal position going away without a very adequate plan in place. And with the addition of losing a director of special education, does that mean that maybe we could keep one of the other positions if someone so feels strongly enough about that?
So I will say, like, this is a working, living, breathing document, right? Like, there's gonna be movement that happens less than a week before.
Yeah.
More than a week after. So, I mean, we are going to have to process at, on our feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I processed. So I would go to get rid of, I think we need a better plan in place. We take, the positions that are gonna be taken away are a lot at one school. And to take most of the things from that school, I don't know. It doesn't sit well with me.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
So it's not like we're making these cuts and it's happening tomorrow. So you have plenty of time to do the planning.
Mhm.
And I think that's where the fluid comes from. We're getting emails, we're getting phone calls that we're doing this. The people in the community know what the board's doing before we even know what we're doing.
Mhm.
Tonight, we're here to vote on reductions. It's as simple as that.
Correct.
We have the rest of the school year to figure out how that works, and we have the committee structure to do so. We're not going to solve anything tonight. We've given direction as a board at the beginning of January where we passed a resolution to possibly make cuts. We see where our budget's at. We have to make cuts. Tonight's the time to make cuts, and then we figure it out from there.
and we cannot not make cuts. I
Yeah.
think we all
No,
are in
I
agreement
agree.
with that. Okay.
I agree.
And we're still not to where we want to be.
Correct.
So that's just my comment.
So I want to just note for the public, the director of special education and principal resigned at the end of the school year.
Mhm.
Okay. So although it's on here as a cut, that was a resignation. The two social worker positions also were resignations. They just will not be backfilled.
Yep.
Along with the AIE and ANI coordinator positions, resignation will not be backfilled.
Yes.
I'm just being transparent.
And if I could also add, Madam Chair, the art position at our elementary school, there was a resignation earlier in the year that we were unable to replace that teacher.
Okay.
So that was another one there.
And I will say, sitting on the finance committee, it was a very heavy room trying to figure out where to take from,
Yes.
where to take from. It was, I mean, you can't have classroom sizes smaller. I know that much. And that was one of the biggest things for the reason that I agreed to, not do the social workers or the counselor positions, but the assistant principal one, that one sits big with me still. I don't know if we should necessarily do that.
Comments from this side?
Yes. I have one question. I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but I want to ask it anyway. I mean, these recommendations came from not only the superintendent, but they also came from our administrative staff, the ones that we hire to make those decisions and bring recommendations to us. And I think Superintendent Hackbarth hit on that when it's a recommendation. I guess I'm confident. I'm not part of the finance committee. I guess, feel free to speak as the finance committee, but I'm confident that it was well vetted amongst administrative staff. I understand people don't like it, and there's a bunch of what ifs, but
There's always gonna be what ifs.
we have to make some moves. So what's the next step here, Lynn?
Oh, the next step is what's a resolution? So we need to vote on whether or not we approve
As is.
as is.
Okay.
Or we can talk about if you want something pulled. We can do that too and vote that way and amend the motion.
I would like to pull number 6.
As I say, I kind of concur with Amanda's comments in regards to, yes, everything else was discussed at the finance committee. The assistant principal was not. Again, these are all very difficult decisions. There is no good place to make cuts. We were very fortunate when the government provided us with a lot of funding that allowed us to improve programs at the schools. Well, that is now going away. We can't generate another $1 million of revenue, unfortunately, today. So the only option is expenses. So that assistant principal position, I think, is one that we need a second leadership position in that school. So that might be that position, or is it is there another option for that position? We do need leadership in that school to help staff and students. So that's the only thing that I would comment on.
I'll piggyback with Eric. I think we need a principal and not some other form of leadership or assistant principal. We need someone with the authority for when the principal's not there, someone who can make decisions, who is able to do the things that they are needed to do it.
So if we went to a different role with the dean of students, which is what everybody's getting at, is there some reason that person wouldn't be able to make decisions?
They can't necessarily do all the disciplinary things if needed. The roles are different.
They are different.
Yep.
So why are we talking about it though?
Right.
Again, this is,
I agree.
we're making
Yeah.
cuts. Simple as that.
Mhm.
So we could talk about it later. That's fine, or we pull something. But all that's gonna happen is we're gonna make a change on here. We're gonna come back to the next board meeting. It's gonna come up again.
Correct.
So
Yep.
we're gonna keep going round and round. We've been pushing on this and pushing on this, and so I have the second on the motion. I'm not gonna change my second, so.
Josh, Lindsay, you have any thoughts, feelings, concerns?
I was concerned too, seeing the school counselor position leaving. So that was one that just with behaviors and with the needs, seeing that on there was probably where my eyes went.
It's tough because I've talked with some of those wonderful people that are back there right now, and I've worked with them at that school, and I know it's difficult over there. And I don't know what the answer is. But I know that I have to trust the administration that brought these recommendations. And if I don't trust those people, I don't know where to go from there.
It's well said.
So do you vote on each individual one? I mean,
Yeah.
we're hearing things from, I mean, all of us have kind of spoken, so you pass this resolution and then you vote on each individual one? Or
Correct.
you're saying we can do it two ways?
Well, some of this is non-staff, so we need to do the resolution for the reductions. Some of that is gonna be your positions and
Right, 5% and
things like that, and so, and then there's some staffing resolutions that we'll need to do individually.
So that we could actually,
Okay.
what you're saying is how it's proposed right now is we could go through and vote for this because of the programs and things on there, but the staffing ones, those will be the next ones and then we'll
Correct.
get to talk. So in this case, if somebody doesn't support that, they'll get the opportunity to vote against it.
Vote against that at that time.
But then how does that work if, so like, let's say everyone votes for it to pass, but then it has assistant principal on there, so that means they're voting for the assistant principal to go, and then you're gonna vote on whether or not that person goes forward or not? So,
That's the position.
yeah, okay, so the position is
For this
what
one.
we vote on, and then the next one is more or less a contract renewal.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Nancy, correct me if I'm wrong, you probably know better than I do on this, but I think that it's the resolution is everything on there. So I think it's kind of an all or nothing, so if we're gonna make any changes beforehand, we should do that before we do the vote, right?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I made the motion to adopt as is. Brandon, you seconded.
Yep.
I'm gonna take a vote on that. All those in favor of adopting this as is, say aye. Aye.
I
aye.
Is that 3 or 4?
think,
Yeah,
yeah,
reroll.
yes.
Yes.
No.
No,
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. 4-3 motion, or 4-2 motion passes. Now we're gonna get into specific positions. Sorry. So 8.2 is to approve the resolution relating to the probationary principal non-renewal. So we need to move to approve the resolution relating to the non-renewal of the contract of Kyle DeWitt, assistant principal, as presented and attached. I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Questions or discussion on that? I think we've had quite a bit, but if there's.
Well, I think it's appropriate to notate that this is one of our positions, our principals and our teachers are probationary until up to the three-year mark. I mean, it's Minnesota statute, and after the 3-year mark, they're tenured. past boards here. A couple of us have sat on past boards where we've had some struggles with that in trying to realign. So I have to support administration if they're coming forward and suggesting a non-renewal of a probation employee. You know, it's not, it's the administration's, we hire them to have the ability to do what's best for the district, and this is a recommendation that they're bringing to us.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
So pretty much, so with the resolution being passed, the position is essentially gone, correct? For like assistant principal or like that counselor position and et cetera, right?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure.
But it is also fluid.
Today,
Correct.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
fluid.
We could come back to the next board meeting and say, hey, we've talked and here's what we want to do.
Right.
And I think that would be prudent of us to do.
And it's probably going to happen throughout the summer and through, from here until
Mhm.
next school year.
Something has to be in place sooner than later, a
Correct.
plan. I mean, as you
Yeah.
stated, there's not necessarily a plan, but
So.
I meant fluidity for any position.
yes,
Yeah.
right.
So we could sit here and vote to non-renew all these contracts, because we're getting rid of these positions, but then in 2 months be like, hey, never mind, we're actually gonna bring these positions back and then have to rehire for them.
Correct.
That's potential, yeah.
Okay. I'm just making sure I understand.
Yeah. All right, we need to, call vote on this.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
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 Okay, 5-1, motion carries. Moving on to 8.3. I'll need a motion to approve the resolution relating to the non-renewal of the contract of Jessica Parlato, school counselor, as presented and attached. Take motion in a second.
I can move.
I'll second.
Questions and discussion?
You know, I have a concern. We don't have the money to do it, but we've been trying to provide adequate support for our students. And I think as this one comes forward, there's another counselor, there's a social worker, et cetera. My suggestion after this is we have to come up with a plan for that.
Yes.
We sat here, not all of us were on the board at the time, but as we went through COVID and listened to some of the issues we've heard from, a mother tonight, and seeing what some of these positions, that the value that they bring. I get that these are probationary individuals being suggested, not non-renewal, but very much so. I think that both the social workers and the counselors, we need to look at that as a whole too.
Okay, I feel like I'm just not on the same page today that I should be, but so are you saying that this right now maybe shouldn't, that we need to discuss it again in the future?
No,
because
no.
of-
What I'm saying is, you know, we did the first resolution,
Yep.
right? So that the way things are right now,
Mhm.
that's being suggested by administration that we're eliminating that. But what I'm suggesting is that we need to figure out, okay, now that that's been eliminated, how do we overcome what has been eliminated with what we have?
Okay,
If that makes
it
any
made more
sense.
sense that time.
So, sorry.
It's okay.
A little more succinct, yes. All right, roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 No.
Yes.
Yes.
5-1, motion carries. 8.4, approving resolution relating to the non-renewal of the contract of Holly Abbey, preschool teacher, as presented and attached. Need a motion in a second.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay, any questions or discussions on this position? Okay, I'll need a.
I guess I have one question. I'm not on that finance committee, but a question for the committee members. So we added some of these teachers to the preschool program because of the number of kids that we had. I mean, that was merely the reason.
There will be a class that's cut.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
one
we
class.
sat here at the beginning of last school year asking for, hey, we need another individual. So we as a board understand that we're cutting a class.
Yep, but,
Correct.
yep, that it also been discussed that.
And we'll talk about it in
Yeah.
a little bit about fees for the
Yeah,
Okay.
preschool.
Yeah.
that'll come into play.
Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 6-0, motion carries. Okay, 8.5, approve resolution relating to non-renewal of contract of Gwen Yulin, long-term substitute teacher as presented and attached. I'll need a motion in a second, please.
I'll motion.
I'll second. Any questions or discussion on this?
I have a question.
Yes.
So long-term sub, that just means that it's a sub that's on full payroll that we call whenever we need. No? What is that?
So she's contracted to fill in for part of the year, basically, and I think in this case, till the end of the year. And so, you know, if the long-term sub is a short time, if it's, you know, 20, 30 days or whatever, you know, we can get by with just doing a building sub. But in this case, we knew this was gonna be a longer duration, and so we went ahead and did a contract with Miss Hewland.
Okay, so it's not like a on-call sub that we've been calling in case of
No.
absenteeism or anything like that?
No.
Okay.
And Miss Hewland is fully aware of this will happen tonight.
So with this case, because this is one of it was a licensed para, a teacher that basically said, yes, I'll do this. I'll step up and do this. Now, I know it's a long-term sub, but I mean, what are the implications? Are we losing another staff member because of it?
I hope not.
I'd like to know that.
I hope not.
She's
I don't know.
been with the district for quite some time and filled the gap when it was needed, so.
So if we didn't act on this tonight, then she would have continuing contract rights. That's my understanding. Now we'd have to bring her back next year? We wouldn't? Okay. Okay. Alright. So it's just more of the formal action that the contract is done at the end of the year.
It's just to the end of the year. Yeah.
Yeah. So she could apply for other positions in the district as they opened up.
Or does she already have a position to go back to?
She could go back to being a para again, yeah, which is what she does.
Right.
She could go back, I'm just repeating what you say so that it's on video. She could go back to being a para within the district.
Yes, and she's exploring her options. I mean, to stay in the district, she does not have an intention to leave the district
She does not have any.
in our
intention. Okay,
conversation.
My question is this really a cut?
That's what,
yeah, it's a great question.
It's not a cut whatsoever. It's a contract that expires at the end of the year.
yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna vote no against this one because it's,
So just to clarify, this one's not part of the reductions. This isn't part of the reductions. This is not part of the preschool reductions.
because it was in the
It
first.
looks
one.
like it is.
Looks like it
Yeah,
is.
well, that was a different, that's not the same person.
So
No,
it's
No.
not listed.
this is just business.
Okay,
Yeah,
roll call vote.
yeah, I'm sorry about the confusion on that.
Hang on then.
Can we
Well,
get clarification? What
Like,
are,
yeah, let's.
Well,
clarify.
if we think it's just a contract position that ends at the end of the school year,
Do
then
we
I,
have to take
then I
action?
don't think that we need to necessarily vote on a cut. Is my,
This is not a,
This is not a-
not a reduction in
no, it's
preschool.
not a reduction.
but is this even an action we even need to take?
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Well,
It's-
If
we
her
don't even
contract is
take
up at the
action.
end of the
Contract
year.
expires, why would we be voting to
and-
Yeah,
non?
That was this.
Well, I was just gonna,
This was a direction I was given, and
No.
this is, yeah. I don't think it's gonna hurt us to do it.
Do we table this one? And
we can table it.
I,
Could table it or we can vote no too.
Nancy, did you have anything you wanted to add? Okay,
Okay, because we have on here a resolution reducing and discontinuing educational programs and positions. That was the very first resolution that we
Yeah.
had.
but
Right,
the
number one
not
is-
on here though.
Sure it is.
No, it is.
One preschool teacher
it's
position.
not
That's
her.
not
Oh, it's not.
No, it's not.
It's not her, it's a different.
No, I
All
understand.
right,
I understand the confusion.
that's
not
what
the
I'm
same.
looking at. Okay.
No, different person.
No, it's
I
not.
would,
That was actually the previous one we talked
there's a
about.
motion and a second on it.
There's a motion and a second, so we could vote and if you want to vote no, vote no.
Or we
Either
can,
vote it down, or we can pull them.
Right.
or we can table it. Or just vote down.
I guess my concern on this is, what if we still need a long-term sub?
Well, we will.
We
I mean,
will.
There's no doubt about it, but I
Yeah.
think that contract we need to end that contract. I mean,
But why,
But it will.
but why are
It'll
we,
end
why,
itself.
why, okay, if it's ending and we still need a long-term sub, why are we ending it?
is there an end date on the contract, Nancy?
Yeah, I think.
Right, but we should be able to then say if that's the individual, then that's getting in negotiations with the long-term sub again,
Mhm.
right?
I mean,
So I mean,
I don't think it needs to be on here.
I don't know why we're talking about it,
Sure.
especially now knowing that we're gonna still need a long-term sub.
Right.
The sub licensure, yeah.
Oh, okay, I see, okay, so there's.
Yeah, you're gonna look for a licensed person.
I wasn't sure but that's, you know.
Yeah.
That's the direction that we were given, is that we needed to have this on here for action tonight. Like I said, I don't think it does any harm. I think that we've been very forward and forthcoming with Mrs. Yulin. I don't think it. I understand people's concerns, but I think it was just a business item that we were under the impression we needed to do.
So we'll take a roll call vote then.
I still feel so confused.
What are you confused about?
Why, so the contract ends. But we're voting on not to renew a contract that ends. That there's nothing else in place anyways. I don't get, maybe, like I said, maybe I'm not on the same page.
I guess, Diane, can you come up,
Yeah,
please? I have a question for you too. I don't mean to call you out of the crowd, but
because we've already.
Amanda, I didn't mean to go.
No,
ahead.
you're fine.
Do you have something?
No, we're good.
I'm just, so I'm curious that, so at the end of the year, and we'll
Yes.
just we'll take the individual that's in this position, the contract ends. You still know that you need a long-term sub. We need a long-term sub. My question, has everything been done to that individual or provided to that individual? If there's a license or something that needs to be done to continue doing that? Or you're just suggesting to us that you don't want to continue with a long-term sub, you want somebody with a license?
Correct. I think we will be able to, and we have to by law advertise the position
Okay,
and search for someone who has the proper licensure. I do believe there are people that will apply for that position. And so, and I've notified Gwen, we've had conversations about this. She's fully aware of it. So yeah, I mean, by law, she has a long-term sub license and that's what she has. She doesn't have a teaching license.
you can only go a certain.
So you can only go
That's all I
so
need.
far.
Okay,
Yeah.
that
can only
helps
go
me
so
understand.
far. So the
Yep.
position will be replaced, yes, but we have to advertise and see if someone with the proper licensure applies for the position.
So we
Thank you.
shouldn't need a long-term sub.
Correct.
Only the long-term sub acting in long-term capacity, not in the capacity in which she's working right now.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for the clarification. Appreciate it.
So the non-renewal is just to her in that capacity
In that
currently.
capacity currently.
Okay.
And again, I don't think we need it, but
Correct. Sounds like it. It ends anyhow.
It doesn't have any sense.
Well, let's roll call.
Yeah, roll call.
Facebook,
no.
Rod,
Yes.
Porter,
No,
King,
I have to recuse myself for conflict of interest.
Berglund,
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carries. Majority. 8.6, approving the increase of district athletic participation fees. We need revenue as well. We're gonna move to approve the increase To increase all of the district athletic participation fees by 50%, including the family max. Need a motion and a second.
Oh, second.
Questions and discussion?
I do. Is there going to be a sliding fee with this? Because there's not one attached.
So we, Mr. Kolberinski and I, and then, Arla, we've had some conversations about, last thing we want to do is bring hardship among our families so they can't afford to have their students participate in East Grand Forest activities. We don't want that to happen, obviously. So if that were the case, we need to have a process for which we can review the situation. And Mr. Kolberinski felt pretty confident that we could find a way to make that work on East Grand Forks. You know, I wouldn't support this or even bring it up for recommendation unless I felt like we had an opportunity to review those cases. What we don't want to do is we don't want to make a blanket statement and say anybody that's free and reduced. And, you know, we didn't want to go down that. Doesn't mean that's a bad idea. What I'm saying is that that's not the option that we went with this time. Mr. Kolberinski and I, are committed to finding something that will fit to make sure that families that are maybe disadvantaged, won't be, blocked to have their kids, be able to be part of our activities.
So it'll be individual case by case basis.
That's what we're looking at.
And what are the parameters for that? How could, like, is it gonna be square across the board? Or is it gonna be, well, I like this family so they can have it free or whatever?
Yeah, no.
Like, are there guidelines that are?
In the past, if a student is struggling, in my involvement, I just say, go talk to Mr. Kolberinski, Mr. Lohr in the office, and they'll work with you. And that's usually all that needs to be done. And so then they go and they have a meeting with them and then they take care of that. And then that kid is back at practice.
What I heard from Mr. Kolberinski that made me feel better about the situation, and Mr. Lohr and I have talked about this too, was that they don't turn people away. I mean, they're gonna figure out a solution to make sure that that student gets the opportunity. There might need to be a little bit of more clarification on things and, you know, and stuff like that, but they're gonna figure it out.
Okay, so we're gonna approve a sliding fee scale for preschool. But not for activities.
That's a
In
recommendation.
theory, it would be the same because they're all students in the district. Or do I not see it? How everyone else sees it?
I guess my rebut to that,
Yeah.
or I would say that that's two complete separate programs, you know.
agree.
When we're looking at preschool and teaching kids and things and the amount of funds that have to go towards that. Yes, there's a lot of, there's a very large amount of funds. We made a cut of 5% to the athletic budget tonight, but I think I don't think you can compare, at least from my perspective, I don't think they're comparable.
I also agree with that. If that's, you know, how administration is gonna do it on a case by case basis. I think to say, oh, we like this kid, oh, that's, you know, we're gonna let that go by, that's a little speculative.
Well,
We
yeah,
shouldn't
I
be
don't-
Doing that.
And just to clarify, you know, a lot of what we bumped up to is a lot of what the youth sports are charging already.
If not, still less.
If not, still less
For sure.
than youth sports right now in our community.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I mean, and we did talk about this at the finance committee, and we
Yes.
talked about doubling it.
Yeah.
Yes, and so, you know, if their recommendation is not to do that, we're gonna have to trust them as to why.
Yeah, we just thought that was a little too much, even though this community would probably support it, because they've been very supportive. We just didn't want to put that much all in one swoop. And so we thought that 50% was a good start for us. It also gives us an opportunity to review numbers and things like that. So if there was a negative impact on, this increase, the board could decide to make changes as needed.
And if it's not negative, we can also revisit, bump it again.
Would be another option. And I would just note that we also increased the family max total by 50% as well. Just to be transparent about that. That's the recommendation.
All right, there was a motion and a
That-
second. Oh, sorry.
Just to
go
be
ahead.
clear, this just says athletic participation. Does this include activities too?
Should it be all activities?
It should be, yes.
Who made the motion?
We want to just,
Amanda, did you make the motion? I think it was you and then Josh, right?
No,
I think Josh-
they
It was me.
Okay.
To it.
I would support, I think we need to adjust that
Yep.
from
To
athletic.
adjust
It needs to be
all activities.
Okay, so we're approving the increase of all district activity participation fees by 50%, including the family max.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Josh. Yep.
All first that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 8.7, approve school readiness program sliding fee schedule, as presented and attached in board book. There'll be an increase in school readiness programming and the sliding fee schedule.
I'll make the motion on this.
I'll second it.
Okay, any questions or discussion?
No, I think we've been.
Would say, well, I'd say to say at the finance committee, it was brought up on, where we sit compared to other like programs. And I would say we're still, either on par or below some of the other programs that are
Especially
similar
for what we offer.
And it, not just in the district, within like the region,
within the region,
Yeah.
correct?
right? And we're still below, so.
And when we went to the full-time, that was discussed that we were looking at making small increment steps. So this is probably a little bit larger than what we made in the past, but I think it still is getting us closer to making that. We're not looking for that program to make money by any means,
No,
but
but we'd like to keep it alive.
correct.
And this is the only way that we could see how to do it.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Award bids for groceries for the 2024-25 school year. We're gonna move to award the bids for the district groceries to US Foods for the 24-25 school year with a possible rollover into the following 4 years as presented and attached in board book. I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Any questions or discussion?
Carla, on the one that, that didn't get their bid in. Okay. But that one, in speaking with you, they provide, it's easier to use.
Well, their website is, when you look at like a CNFP label, I don't know about it, but that is like readily available for every order you put in, whereas some of them you have to request that label from the company to get that accurately. But you only need to do that once a year, so that's not a huge.
Okay.
deal.
'Cause I guess I would look at it, it's not always what comes in as the lowest bid. If there's something that works better, maybe we should talk about it and extend it. And I guess I would defer to you if we need to.
Yeah, no, that was just a note that,
Okay,
like, if you wanted the bells and whistles, that would be like the, in front of them on their website, but US Foods also offers a very similar program, it's just not in, sell with the table system. Kind of a little, mid-brandy and Canada would really explain it a little bit more better than I can, but from my standpoint, I think that's not. I think
thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 8.9, approve early release for students on May 29th, 2024. Originally was a full day, the early release for the last day of school.
I'll make a motion to approve the early release on May 29th, 2024.
I'll second.
Any questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 8.10, approve the 2024-25 school district calendar as presented and attached in board book.
I'll move.
Did you say
No, sorry, I just clicked something the wrong way.
There,
I'll second.
There was a typo, right?
yep,
There.
there's a typo in there.
Okay, I'll second, then let's have questions and discussion.
Is yours not pulling up? Okay.
Yeah, it's not active anyway, but
It's not pulling up the correct way on my end, but
it was before the meeting.
Yeah,
there was before the meeting, yeah. There's just,
the typo I saw on the middle where, it says the winter break is December. Oh, that looks like that's fixed now.
Oh,
Never
I
mind.
wonder why I couldn't read it. Sneaky.
That was.
Thought I was going
I wonder
crazy.
why I couldn't get into it. There you go.
No mistake, huh?
Nice work, Nancy. Never mind.
okay, never mind, then so moved, yeah.
So
I
as,
don't know.
as presented in board book.
I think it's important that we should, is, if we talk about transparency, maybe so the calendar committee, we can share a little bit, some of the changes. So, one of the big changes next year is there'll be, a 2-week, Christmas or holiday break. And then I believe I wasn't at the last one, but we're voting to go, every Wednesday is going to be an early release
Early release at 2:15
throughout.
for
throughout the school.
varsity and one.
Just
15,
for
yeah.
families to prepare, and more to come why that's happening. I think as we have additional board meetings, there'll be more and more what that time is being utilized for staff, but it's important for folks to know that starting next year that Wednesdays, everybody's getting out a little bit early.
Can you repeat those times, please? That the early release is
So it's a 2 PM is what we're shooting for.
for all schools.
Well, it'll be different at.
Same as they are
nor-
now.
nor-
It'd be like,
oh, the
it'll be a
same
normal
as
like
now, yeah.
1:50 to 15, you know, it'd be
It'll be
like,
staggered.
yeah, the bus staggering.
And then I have a question. Why is on some of these, on the half days, there's no school for the elementary only, but there's school for middle school and high
Is it by?
school?
It'd be conferences.
Is it conferences?
Yep.
Okay.
That's a good question.
Yeah, it is.
I was looking and I couldn't necessarily find it. Yeah, because it's, oh, okay, there, all right, I see. Never mind. Kidding.
All right, we had a motion and a second.
I guess I'll think, I first got on the calendar committee this year. I haven't been to all of them, but I showed up and there's a large number of staff that takes some time and puts a lot of effort into that. So I guess before we vote, I just certainly want to say thank you to, that's not only administrative staff, but that's staff as a whole. So thanks for everybody's work that they put into the calendar this year.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 9.0 payment of claims and accounts.
I'll move to approve the payment of K-12 bills numbers 126790 through 126881 and EFTs in the amount of $1,157,278.36 as presented and attached.
I'll second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 10.0 board member comments. Eric, I'll go to you first.
No, obviously a lot of difficult decisions made tonight and obviously this will continue. It'll have to be fluid going forward in the future, but yeah, obviously none of these decisions are taken lightly. But that's all I had.
I think that it's imperative that we are looking at, you know, the health and well-being of our students, but I think we should also make sure that we don't forget about our staff. What's this doing for not just the ones that are making the cuts, but the ones that are still going to be there. And we have to make sure that we have support for them as well.
I don't have anything further than that.
Brandon?
No, I'll just echo those same comments.
I second what Josh has to say. It wasn't easy coming up with any of this stuff. From the finance committee, from my standpoint, I don't think anyone there had a great time sitting there and doing it. It was very hard. I know the biggest thing for me was class sizes, and there's only so many things you can do to keep class sizes bigger. I just hope that all the tools and things that we've learned having the extra help within the district the last couple of years, we're able to utilize those and put those plans in place that we paid an insane amount of money for.
I did forget something.
Okay.
I think as we go through and we talked about budget cuts tonight, we need to, everybody needs to be aware that we're one of the only districts in Minnesota that doesn't have a technology referendum.
Or any referendum.
Or, you know, we have the small one on some of the work that we've done. So I think as a board, we probably need to start those conversations to see how we want to move forward, because We're spending money in places that we can actually get additional money, but we have to go through the proper channels. So I'd like to see that happen moving forward. At least let's start having those discussions. We've talked about them a couple months ago about bringing Ellers in and having those discussions, but I think, we've made some difficult decisions tonight. Now's the time to move that direction to say what's next.
I think when you have gut punches like this, which I'm sure everybody in this room feels, it's appropriate to start talking with Ellers and for the community to understand the needs.
So sorry, I forgot about that.
No. I just wanted to say thank you to everybody that came tonight and voiced their concerns. This wasn't easy and I'll just echo them. And I do appreciate everybody's thoughts and the administration that brought all their thoughts into this. And we do need to, think about those that are leaving and left behind. So, not easy, but we'll keep it on. So. Next board meeting of education is for the School Board of Education is April 22nd, 5:30. 12.0 adjourn the regular meeting. I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?